Hello, friends. JJ Merrill here. Hope everyone out there is doing just fantastically. I'm going to go and get right into this. Moments ago, the spring cleaning update for Dota 2 was announced. And I figured, you know what? What a great opportunity to make a new video. So here we go. I'm not going to go over all of the bug fixes, but I do want to very much praise Valve for the fact that they are still devoting a lot of effort into this game. It is wonderful to see all of these bugs being fixed. But I think what's probably even more awesome than that is this is also the announcement of Gameplay Update 6.81. And before making this video, I took a quick look through these changes, kind of got an idea for what was going on. And I want to say right away that I think that this is a very healthy patch for the game. And what I mean when I say that is there's not too many changes here that are incredibly radical and that are going to change things too terribly much. But there are enough changes here that are affecting things that some people might deem quote-unquote toxic to the game, or things that are just obviously having a detrimental impact on the enjoyment of the majority of the player base. So as I go through these points, I will definitely point out those changes that I think are going to have the biggest impact. And let's go ahead and get right into it. So, Gameplay Update 6.81. To start off right at the bat, you have a Roshan base armor increased by 1. Okay, that's pretty cool. It means Roshan's going to be a little bit harder to take down. That's fine. Attack speed now always continually adjusts based on the latest modifications applied to the unit. Question mark. This makes it so heavy attack speed flows don't linger into the next attack, even after duration has expired. Most impactful with abilities like Untouchable and Fire Spirits. Okay, this feels more like a bug fix, which is kind of nice. But a good example of this is Phoenix. I believe level 4 Fire Spirits actually apply a 140 attack slow. I do have the wiki pulled up here in another tab because I do want to look at some of the heroes as we go through these changes. So let's look at this. So Fire Spirits have a 140 attack speed reduction. That is absolutely massive. To kind of put that into perspective, if we look at a Hyperstone, that is going to give you plus 55 attack speed. Okay, so the fact that this ability confers like almost 3 Hyperstones worth of attack speed slow, basically what this means is that if the debuff expires, like I think during your next attack, it essentially means that your attack is going to go through at normal speed. So that's a nice bug fix, is what that feels like, so that's okay. Melee illusions created by a Rune of Illusion take 200% instead of 300% damage. I have to admit, I'm not sure if I like this, and, melee illusions. Okay, I actually didn't notice that part. The reason why I was about to say that I'm not sure I like this is because think of all those times whenever like an enemy support or an enemy ranged hero has grabbed an illusion rune, like the very first illusion rune in the game as soon as the game starts, and how that can literally break a lane. It's kind of cool that the illusion rune is getting buffed so that the illusions just aren't so expendable. This seems really strong. Like, I know this doesn't sound like much because, oh, it's just illusions. They don't deal much damage. But at the same time, like, illusions can cause a lot of havoc, and they can be a problem, especially earlier on in the game, or if they're used in clutch situations. So, kind of a cool change, might be a little strong, but then again, we all know that illusion runes are nothing compared to, like, haste, regeneration, all that good stuff anyway. Random draft hero selection pool increased from 22 to 24. Definitely a nice change. It's going to ensure that random draft games are going to have some more variety in them. I typically don't play random draft myself, but definitely a nice change to see. Captain's Draft Hero Selection Pool increased from 24 to 27, 8 per type to 9. I think this is a very nice change. I do watch a lot of Captain's Draft. I don't play a lot of it myself, but this is good to see. This is definitely going to ensure that Captain's Draft games become more varied, especially as more heroes are released into the pool. It's a fairly sound logic to think that Pit Lord is probably going to be released fairly soon, but then again, who's to say? We really don't know. Valve has definitely kept an odd release schedule over time, and it's really hard to predict what they're going to do. But good change, I like this. Captain's Draft Hero Bands increased from 4 to 6. Very interesting. So effectively what this means is that even though that there is an increase in the pool, there is a dramatically high increase in the number of hero bands here. So even though there is a larger pool, it's going to mean that the captains are going to be able to whittle that pool down further. Interesting change, and I think this is really going to change how captain's drafting is actually played quite a bit. So we'll see how that works out. Meepo is no longer available in ability drafts, so no more Divided We Stand. Apparently that was a big problem. Okay, fair enough. All right, on to the heroes. So first up, Abaddon, one of my favorite heroes. Aghanim's Scepter Borrowed Time now redirects 35% of all damage dealt to nearby allied heroes to Abaddon when active. Heroes within a range of 900 of Abaddon will have their damage redirected. Okay, so essentially what this means is that while Abaddon's ultimate is running, if you have an Aghanim Scepter, damage dealt to your allied heroes in a 900 radius around you, you now take 35% of this damage. So, like, let's think of an example of that. Sand King Ultimate. Let's say Sand King Ultimate is hitting your team, but you are able to use Abaddon's Ultimate, whether you trigger it manually. By the way, I think this is actually an excellent way to actually make manually triggering Abaddon's Ulti viable. If you know an ally is about to take a huge amount of damage, like say through a very, very predictable and a very, very telegraphed ability, this could actually be extremely useful. This is a really cool Ag Scepter upgrade, and I love seeing changes like this to the game, because the Aghanim Scepter isn't just doing something like increasing the duration or, you know, decreasing the cooldown of it. It's adding a new mechanic to the hero. I like this a lot. This is a really nice change, and a very cool change for Abaddon himself too, so very nice. Ancient Apparition. Chilling Touch attack speed reduction increased from -15 to -20. Interesting nerf to Chilling Touch. Chilling Touch is still, to this day, I think one of the most underrated abilities in the game. So we just take a quick look at that. If you're not familiar with Chilling Touch, essentially it adds an amount of magic damage to auto attacks in exchange for lowering attack speed. So it's going to go from 15 attack speed slow to 20. Not really a huge difference. Chilling Touch still deals a very large amount of bonus magical damage on auto attacks. So I don't think this is really going to have too much of an effect. So not really a significant change there. Mana Void's area of effect increased from 450 to 500. Okay, so last patch Anti-Mage had this buffed as well. And 500 AoE is pretty huge. What I'm trying to remember is what they buffed it to in the last patch. I know it was increased quite a bit. We might be able to see it here. Yeah, so in patch 6.8, they took it from 300 to 450. Now they're taking it from 450 to 500. So to kind of put this into perspective with Mana Void, if you're able to Mana Void a target... Whatever, get out of here. If you're able to Mana Void a target that has no mana, like for example a Storm Spirit that is balled in from across the map and doesn't realize how low on mana he is, doing this on a 500 AoE is extremely significant, because I can see a lot of Ultra Kills and Rampages coming from this. So you have to remember that using Mana Void on a target, any target in the AoE of that is going to take the same amount of damage as the primary target, as you can see right here. So that's pretty huge. 500 AoE is nothing to sneeze at. That's actually quite large. So interesting change for Anti-Mage. Definitely a nice buff. Counter Helix now uses pseudo-random chance for Axe. This reduces the chances that a very unlucky or lucky streak of procs occurs. Okay, if you're not familiar with pseudo-random chance, I can give just a brief description of it. This essentially states that across over a series of trials, whenever you're trying to use an ability that's percentage-based, for example, Phantom Assassin's Coup de Grace, if you're trying to get a crit, over time, if you don't get a couple of crits within, say, 3 or 4 hits, your odds of getting a crit actually go up for each time that you don't. So Axe, as Counter Helix, now uses that same formula. So, for example, if, like, say you have a 15% chance of Counter Helix, but you don't, it might go up to 16 or 17% for the next auto attack, 18, 19% for the next, so on and so forth, until you proc a Counter Helix, then it resets back down to the base chance. Interesting change for Axe, and I think, I'm not sure how this will affect his gameplay. It may not affect it much, but you may have trouble becoming the Helicopter Lord now, but you also have a better chance of having your spins more normalized. So I think that's okay. Batrider, Flaming Lasso mana cost increased from 150 to 225. That's actually pretty severe. That's a big nerf to the ability. And I say that because a difference of 75 mana can be absolutely enormous, especially earlier on in the game, where, like, say you're level, you know, I don't know, 6, 7, or 8 or so, and you're getting off your first gank. That 75 mana it can be a lot more substantial than you might think. So this is actually a fairly severe Batrider nerf, so that's interesting to see. It's definitely going to be a lot harder to get his ultimate off now. Beastmaster, base damage increased by 4. I do not like changes like this, and I will explain why. Beastmaster, at the time of making this video in the current patch, is not played very much because his current role does not fit well into the metagame. Beastmaster is typically played as a solo offlaner role, but right now you're seeing a lot of 2-1-2 lane setups, and Beastmaster serves virtually no purpose in a duo lane at all, and he's rarely ran mid, and he also really cannot jungle at all. So increasing his base damage by 4 does not really change the way the hero is played at all. I'm not entirely sure I understand why this change is being made. If anyone else can clarify on this, feel free to comment, but I don't think this will affect the hero at all, and it's just one of those changes that are there just because. So, not much to talk about there. Bloodseeker, Blood Rage cast point improved from 0.6 to 0.4. Okay, so that means that Bloodseeker's silence and damage amp is now going to cast a lot more quickly. Interesting. Blood Rage can no longer be dispelled. Using abilities like Manta or BKB will not remove the silence. Okay, that's actually very important. I say that because using a silence on certain targets can be absolutely devastating, and I think what this also means is that if you can't dispel it using Manta or BKB, you probably can't dispel it using Yule's Scepter or Divinity. For example, you're playing Puck, and you have a Yule's because Yule's is awesome, but Bloodseeker casts Blood Rage on you. You're no longer able to use the Yule's, and then when you get down out of your Yule's, blink away because you're still going to have the silence debuff on you. Very interesting change, and I think this is absolutely a very strong buff for the hero. So we'll see how that works out. Bounty Hunter, track cast range increased from 900, 1050, 1200 to 1200. Nice change for Bounty Hunter. This means that track's range no longer scales. It's going to be much, much easier. Take this scenario, for example. You're an early level bounty hunter, you're TPing into a fight, and you just desperately want to get that track off so your team can get the bonus gold. This is going to make it a lot more likely that you're actually going to be able to do that. So very nice change for bounty hunter. I like seeing that quite a bit. Brewmaster. If you have not attacked for 10 seconds, your next attack will always activate a Drunken Brawler critical hit. If you have not attacked for 10 seconds, your next attack will always... Wow, okay. That's pretty big, actually. So essentially what this means is that I actually have not ran across a mechanic like this in a long time, if ever. Effectively what this means is that you're able to time your Drunken Brawler hits to ensure you get a critical hit. This could very, very much encourage me to possibly look at different Brewmaster skill builds. This is a huge buff to Drunken Brawler. Interesting change. If you have not been attacked for 10 seconds, Drunken Brawler will cause you to evade the next attack. This mechanic carries over to your Fire Spirit when it has passive via Aghanim Scepter. Very, very nice change. That's a huge buff to Drunken Brawler. Definitely makes Brewmaster, that's going to deal a lot more damage. This is going to make him a much more effective roamer and ganker. I like this a lot. And I love... I was about to say I love Brewmaster. I really like this here, but he does not see much play right now. Who knows, maybe this will change that. Bristleback. Warpath no longer has unique values for the first movement speed stack. First stack bonus was 5, 7, 10% movement speed, and now does the same as all stacks. For the first... Okay, so they basically normalized the values for the movement speed bonus that you get off of Bristleback's passive from his ulti. Okay. Warpath movement speed stack bonus increased from 123% to 345%. Okay. Old level 1, 5 to 9, level 3. Wow. Okay, that's actually quite a bit of movement speed. You know, I don't feel like this hero needs this, and this is coming from a guy that really likes to play Bristleback because he's awesome. Bristleback is a very, very strong hero as it stands right now, and he was buffed last patch as well, so that's interesting. That's actually pretty strong. So the moment that Bristleback hits 6, he's going to be even scarier than he already was. Very interesting. Broodmother. This hero really needed attention. Let's see what they did for her. Spiderling's poison sting damage per second increased from 4 to 8. Okay, that's cool. So it's basically going to make Broodmother Spiderlings do more damage just over time, so that's okay. Spinweb's free pathing no longer deactivates when enemy has vision on Broodmother. Ooh. Cool. Okay. So this means that if you're in your webs and, like, say you're dusted, you still have your free pathing. That means you can still, you know, run around, go into the trees and whatnot. That's nice. Spinweb's free pathing is now disabled for 3 seconds when Broodmother takes damage. Uses the same damage sources rules as Blink Dagger. Okay, I think this is really fair change. This is cool. The Broodmother is going to be a lot stronger now, by the way. Probably the same that she was in patch 6.79. This essentially means that if you're being ganked as a Brood Mother, that even if you're dusted or revealed somehow, the enemy needs to deal damage to you before you just skitter off into the trees or run over a cliffside or something. I think that's a good way to balance this hero and balance the ability. I like that a lot. Insatiable Hunger Lifesteal increase from 40-60-80 to 60-80-100. Nice buff to that ability. Definitely going to make Brood Mother be able to man fight, woman fight much more, so that's okay. I like that. Centaur War Runner, Hoof Stop mana cost increase from 85-100 to 130. So now, level 1 Hoof Stop costs the same amount of mana at level 1 as it did at level 4 before. Interesting. This hero has seen a lot of play lately, especially in the professional scene, and he's definitely been making a comeback. He kind of fell off there for a while after his ultimate was nerfed over and over again. So this is interesting. This is definitely going to affect Centaur's mana pool quite a bit more. I think this is fair. Centaur is not a hero that typically has mana problems to begin with, considering your main source of damage from Double Edge does not cost mana but health instead. So I think that's okay. That's fine. Chaos Knight. Phantasm now has a 50% chance to create 1 extra illusion when cast. I like ability. I like changes like this because it's fitting within the theme of the hero. You know, chaos. What's going to happen? Everything's crazy. And this is actually a pretty cool buff because Phantasm on its own, the illusions are really scary. Having 1 extra illusion 50% of the time is actually pretty strong, so I like that change quite a bit. That's nice. Chen, Penitence cooldown reduced from 14 to 14, 13, 12, 11. Okay, so Penitence is going to get stronger as you level it up. Clinks, Death Pact cooldown reduced from 45 to 45, 40, 35. This is a nice change for Clinks. Especially as you get leveled up, that 10-second difference from level 1 to level 3 is actually pretty considerable. This is going to increase Clinks' uptime quite a bit. And what I mean by uptime is the point where he can fight most optimally, because you always want to have Death Pact running whenever you're actually fighting or killing enemy heroes. So good change for Clinks, definitely a nice buff. Dazzle, Poison Touch no longer causes a mini stun. Ooh. This only removes the instant mini stun at the start. The debuff will still stun the target when the poison sets in at level 4. This is a major Dazzle nerf, actually. The ability for Dazzle to instantly mini-stun a target means you can cancel TPs, you can cancel channeled abilities like Witch Doctor Ultimate. This is actually a pretty harsh nerf to Dazzle. I'm not sure the hero needed this. Again, I know this hero is seeing a lot of play in the professional scene right now, but this is going to cause a lot more effect than what the change might seem like at start. So that's interesting. Disruptor, Kinetic Field cooldown reduced from 14 to, again, scaling, so basically they gave him the Chen treatment. This is nice. I think this definitely helps, so having the 3 extra seconds at level 4 is definitely going to have an effect, especially in long, drawn-out team fights. It's now much more likely you're going to be able to cast this twice in a long team fight, so I think this is a nice change for Disruptor. I like that. Doom. Doom damage no longer ignores magic shields. Applies to shields such as the barrier from Pipe of Insight. I've always felt that it should have been this way in the first place. I feel like if you're piped and you're Doom, the pipe should still shield you. So I think this is a fine change. And to be honest, feels more like a bug fix, or maybe not so much a bug fix, but putting the mechanic to where it should have been in the first place. So I think this is a fine change. So this would also apply to things like Aphotic Shield, for example. So I like that. Drow Ranger, Gust knockback duration increase from 0.2 to 0.5. That's actually pretty big. If you've played Drow since the last patch, her new Silence is now the Gust ability that knocks targets back and silences them. And the knockback is actually quite powerful. You actually move a fair distance. Maybe on the wiki it'll actually give us some values on that. I'm kind of curious. Because Drow Anger. Because that extra 0.3 seconds is actually probably quite a bit longer than it sounds. So, knockback distance inversely proportional travel range, 350 closest, 0 at 900. Okay, so if you're right up on Drow, and that knockback distance kicks in, I think what this means is that you're going to be knocked back for that much longer. That's actually pretty good. This sounds like a good, nice change. Interesting. Earth Spirit, Stone Remnant recharge time reduced from 35 to 30. Very nice Earth Spirit buff, and one that I feel like he probably needs. Earth Spirit has a lot of trouble right now really being picked for much of anything. I have a friend of mine that plays pretty much exclusively only Earth Spirit, and this is very frequently a thing that he says, is that if Stone Remnant's recharge time is only a little bit lower, he'd be able to contribute a lot more and be able to have a lot more uptime in team fights. This change is going to ensure that Earth Spirit has a lot more uptime, and he's going to be harder to catch off guard after a large engagement. So, very nice change, nice buff to Earth Spirit. I like that. Earth Shaker. Creeps no longer try to path around fissure. They will wait for it to disappear. Okay, so the reason that they're doing this is so that this little trick that you can do on a Radiant side hard lane, the ability to block the creeps and funnel them into the jungle. So that's a trick that people were doing for a while. This is effectively a bug fix that's going to prevent people from doing that. I think that's fine. I have pretty neutral feelings about that. Echo Slam no longer ignores units in Invisible or in Fog of War. Okay, that's a big buff to Echo Slam. That means that as a hero like a Bounty Hunter or someone that builds a Shadow Blade, you're no longer going to be able to Shadow Blade to avoid the damage from this. That's a pretty huge Echo Slam buff, so I like that. That's nice. Elder Titan. Echo Stomp mana cost reduced from blah 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 to 100. So considerable buff to Echo Stomp. Very nice. Echo Stomp physical and magical damage increased from 80 to a little bit higher each. So this is trying to encourage builds that aren't just Spirit and Natural Order, is what this is trying to go for. To be honest, I don't know if these buffs are powerful enough to warrant that, considering how strong the Spirit and Natural Order build is. But this is definitely what they're trying to go for. I think it remains to be seen if it will actually have a difference. And here is the big one, Ember Spirit. Searing Chain's duration reduced from 2233 to 1223. Total damage is still the same. Damage is unchanged. So the ability is still the same at level 4, and it is a little bit stronger at level 1, and a little bit weaker at level 3. So this is more trying to encourage maxing Searing Change, and I think this is just more of a balance thing, so I think this is fine. This is the big one. Sleight of Fist bonus damage reduced from 30, 60, 90, 120 to 20, 40, 60, 80. That is a huge reduction in damage. Ember Spirit has definitely been the bane of existence for both pub games and professional games everywhere right now. So this is definitely a reactive change to that. And we'll see if this is going to affect the hero's viability. I am going to say right now that it absolutely will. This is a huge reduction in the total amount of damage that Ember Spirit can deal. So we'll see how that affects the hero. Enchantress, untouchable slow duration increased from 3 to 4. I think that's fine. Not really a huge change, but definitely a nice little perk for the hero. Definitely makes her even more of an anti-carry than she already is, so I think that's fine. Enigma, Midnight Pulse, area of effect increase from 400 to 600. A very high AoE increase on Midnight Pulse. My problem with Midnight Pulse is that the ability still has absolutely no synergy with Enigma's other skills. And what I mean by that is it has no synergy with Black Hole. You cannot safely throw down a Midnight Pulse and throw down a Black Hole on top of it. You simply don't have time to do that before the enemy team is going to be able to clear out. You can only do so under an ideal circumstance where you have another AoE teamfight hero, such as Magnus, setting up the situation for you. That's it. So I feel like the AoE increase from 400 to 600, this may make it more effective as kind of a zoning pushing tool, and it's going to help his synergy with heroes that keep other heroes within an AoE, like Disruptor is a good example. So I think that's helpful. It's a nice buff to the ability. I'm still not a fan of the ability itself, but we'll see how this helps him out. It's definitely a big buff to the ability itself. Faceless Void, base agility increased from 21 to 23. Okay. Turn rate improved from 0.5 to 1. Okay, that's a pretty big buff. Effectively what this means is that Faceless Void now has to spend a lot less time turning around to be able to, run, cast an ability, whatever. This is going to very much increase, it's going to make the hero feel a lot more fluid. I like changes like this a lot. So basically what this means is that, like say, if you need to turn around and cast a Clutch Chronosphere, this is going to save you valuable fractions of a second to do so. So I like that change a lot. That's nice to see. Gyrocopter, homing missile now hits invisible units. That's a nice buff. I don't like playing against that, but yep, that's definitely a buff for sure. Homing missile hits required to destroy increase from 3 to 3,345. Very nice buff to homing missile. This is trying to encourage homing missile builds because right now, very common build for Gyrocopter is simply maxing rocket barrage and flat cannon and actually ignoring homing missile entirely. So now homing missile is going to more effectively counter a lot more heroes. That's nice. And it's going to be harder to take down. So nice buff to Gyrocopter. I think that's fine. Huskar, Burning Spear is no longer a unique attack modifier. I don't know if I agree with this. And I say this, I know how annoying it is to play against a Huskar. that knows how to properly orb walk and just throw spears at you all the time. That's really tough to play against, and he's really strong in lane because of that. But I still feel like that right now Huskar is not that strong of a hero, and this is a enormous nerf to his laning presence. You're no longer going to be able to simply throw burning spears at the target without having the creeps react to you. Same idea as being able to use Drow Rangers ice arrows. Exact same concept. You know how you can just run past the creep wave and just Q click, Q click. Well, Huskar can no longer W click, W click. So interesting change. I don't know if the hero really needed to be punished this way, but we'll see how it works out. Invoker. Ghost Walk Slow no longer affects magic immune enemies. To be honest, I did not know it affected magic immune enemies to begin with, and I don't see why it would, so I think that's fine. EMP delay increased from 2.6 to 2.9. This is a big nerf to EMP, and one that I think is a little fairly deserved. The Quas Wex, or I should more accurately say Wex Quas, Invoker builds are very common right now, to where players will use the Tornado into EMP combo to effectively guarantee a huge mana drain during a team fight. So that extra 0.3 seconds that you have to get away is a lot longer than it sounds, so it's going to be a lot easier to avoid EMP now, unless the Invoker times it extremely well. This is going to require more skill on the part of the player playing the Invoker, so I think that's nice. That's a good change. Jakiro, dual breath range increased by 50. Okay, that's nice. So it's going to make Jakiro's kind of staple damage ability easier to hit. It's going to hit a longer range. Liquid Fire level 4 cooldown reduced from 5 to 4. Okay, that's nice. So you're going to be able to cast that more once you have the ability maxed out. Aghanim Scepter Macropyre duration increased from 7 to 14. Interesting. So that kind of suggests to me that Macropyre can now be very useful as a pushing zoning ability. Like, say, throw this down on top of an enemy tower, or say your own tier 3 tower, to effectively keep enemy heroes from hitting it, or to help your own heroes beat the hell out of a building. Or maybe cast this on Roshan, you know, have a large AoE damage ability inside the Roshan pit for 14 seconds. That's a pretty big buff. I like that. Aghanim Scepter Macropyre range increased from 1350 to 1800. Unupgraded is still 900. Okay, so this is really trying to buff the Macropyre Ag's Scepter. An 1800 range is pretty huge. Do I think this affects the viability of the hero? Not really. I think it's a cool change, but here's the way I see it. If you're playing a game and you have an Ag Scepter as a Jakiro to begin with, odds are you're probably going to win in the first place, regardless if you bought another item or not, if that makes sense. So these changes are nice. However, these are just simply number buffs, more or less. Definitely going to make the hero stronger, but the Aghanim Scepter upgrade is not going to affect the hero at all unless he has the item. So just something to think about. Juggernaut, base attack time improved from 1.6 to 1.5. I think that change is fine. However, I will say that Juggernaut's base damage is really a huge problem, especially early in the laning phase, so this might help that a little bit. It's definitely going to make sure that he can do more damage overall, so nice Juggernaut buff. Not going to have a huge impact, I don't think, but we'll see. We'll definitely see how that works out. Keeper of the Light, added Aghanim Scepter upgrade. Provides permanent spirit form. Okay, so right away, that basically means that you always have your Light Bomb and your Summon Friendly Unit ability up all the time. And, of course, your ability to cast your horses from any location where you can just leave the spirit to cast it for you. Additionally, the following effects are active during the day. Keeper of the Light gains unobstructed vision, and Illuminate heals allies for 75% of the damage values. Okay, I'm going to make a prediction right now. I honestly feel like this is too strong. Like, this is huge, especially if the game goes fairly late and Keeper of the Light is a support hero that is excellent at actually getting some farm thanks to his Illuminate ability. Getting an Aghanim Scepter is going to plug, the HP hole that Keeper definitely has, but heals allies for 75% of the damage values. Okay, let's put that into perspective. So let's look at Keeper of the Light, because I'm kind of curious to know just how much Illuminate does. 500 at max channel. Okay, so not only does this mean that you can channel this during a team fight and also back up because you have permanent spirit form. So here's the idea, is you start casting your Illuminate. over the swath of the team fight, over the area the team fight's occurring in. There's no risks to your, or there's much less risk to your hero because you don't have to stand there and channel it. And whenever that Illuminate goes off, not only is it going to damage the enemy heroes for the if you assuming you channel it for the max duration of 500, it's also going to heal your allies for 75% of that. That's really, really good. Like, this is really good. Oh, not to mention, he basically gains Night Stalker vision during the day. So what this, unobstructed vision, essentially what this means is that your vision is no longer obstructed by impassable terrain, trees, things like that. So you could walk near the Roshan pit and see what's going on in Roshan, more or less. I think that this is a little bit too strong, but very interesting change. So we'll see how this works out. I think this is one of the more significant changes in the entire patch, and yeah, I definitely wanted to spend a minute on that and kind of give my thoughts on it. We'll see if I come back to this video and make a comment or annotation later saying, nah, he still dies instantly, but we'll see how it works out. Kunkka, Torrent area of effect increased from 215 to 225. Okay, Torrent's a little bit easier to hit, that's fine. Not much of a change. X marks the spot can now last twice as long on allied heroes. Interesting. Okay, so essentially what this means is that you can cast X marks the spot on an allied hero. Maybe they can run in and be an idiot and scout somewhere, and if they get in trouble, you can use you can cast X again to bring them back to you. That's interesting. That actually might add a lot more dynamics with X marks the spot. I like that change. That's actually really cool because there's not many instances where I've actually thought to cast X on an ally. It's not something you see a lot often, so maybe we'll see that change. Ghost Ship allied buff duration increased from 8 to 10. Very nice buff because the allied buff is really good. Add Ghost Ship AoE indicator for allies. Okay, I think this is more helpful even for me than my allies because I am terrible at landing Ghost Ship. I can't do it. So having an AoE indicator is definitely going to make it easier to do. I like that change a lot. So definitely some very, very nice changes to Kunkka there. Legion Commander, overwhelming odds, bonus damage per hero is increased from 14, blah, 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 to, ooh, wow, that's a big damage jump. Per creep is still, okay, so they're trying to make overwhelming odds a bit more viable, because right now, overwhelming odds is simply not that good of an ability, especially in team fights. It simply just doesn't have big enough of an impact. Overwhelming odds area effect increase from 315 to 330, okay. Overwhelming odds base damage reduced from 50 to 200 to 60 to 180. Okay, so the base damage is rescaled. The bonus damage per hero is increased considerably. So they're trying to make it have more impact on heroes and team fights. I like that change because I feel like right now Legion Commander does not have a huge amount of presence in team fights, even though her kit would suggest otherwise. An extremely long disable from her ultimate, and also basically a purge and heal from her W, but that's nice. I like those changes. Moment occurs, I use a pseudo-random chance. Okay, so same logic as the Axe before. Axe's counter helix. If you don't get a moment of courage proc for a long time, your odds slowly go up that you will. If you've been a luck box and you get a lot of these in a row, your odds are going to go down that you're going to get another one. So incorporating pseudo-random chance effectively normalizes the game in that way. I think that's okay. Leshrac, Lightning Storm now slows its targets by 75% for 0.5 seconds. That's really good. I think this is one of those like ghost buffs. Like I say ghost buff because it doesn't sound all that great, but man, a 75% slow for half a second, that's a lot. That's a whole lot. And you know what? Lightning does a lot of damage. Like, if you've never tried a max lightning build on Leshrac, do it. It's sick. It's really, really good. So that's a really nice buff for Leshrac. Very, very strong. I like that. Lich, Frost Armor can now be cast on buildings. That's really good. Maybe a bit too good. That's going to massively reduce pushing power against Lich. Aghanim Scepter Chain Frost no longer has a bounce limit. Give me a second. Okay, so basically what this means is that during a team fight, if a person that has the Chain Frost chasing them does not back away and end the bounces, it's going to keep going. This is going to be absolutely ridiculous with heroes like Enigma, Magnus, Disruptor, or other Gatherer heroes that force heroes into an AoE. Puck, another good example. That's crazy. That's really good. I feel like Lich is fine as he is, to be honest. I don't know if he needs these buffs. This might actually make him a little bit OP, but we'll see how that works out. Very interesting change. Lena, attack range increased from 650 to 670. Yeah, I like that. Keep buffing that attack range. This may not sound significant, but it really is. Being able to have that extra range to harass in lane, or to be able to stand back a little bit farther in team fight but still contribute damage one way or another, that's actually nice. I like that. Aghanim Scepter Laguna Blade damage goes through magic immunity. Damage can still be reduced by normal spell resistance. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. That's strong. That's really strong. That's really strong. So it's going to go through BKB, Omni Repel, all that good stuff. Very nice. So this effectively turns Lena into much more of an anti-carry. That's going to become a more prominent role for her. Very interesting and very nice change. I like that. Lion, Hex cooldown reduced from 30-15 to 30-12. Not a big change, really. It's going to make Hex more castable at level 4, which is nice. It's going to definitely improve his late game viability. I think that's always a nice thing on heroes like that. Lone Druid, Spirit Bearer health regeneration increased from 2 to 2, 3, 4, 5. Ugh. I don't know if this is necessary. I don't like playing against Lone Druid because the bear is always such a hassle, but strong buff to his bear for sure. Luna, base agility reduced from 22 to 18. Oh, that's definitely going to hurt her a bit, especially in the early game. That's 4 less damage. That's quite a bit less. Well, yeah, that's 4 less damage, 4% less attack speed, a little bit less armor. Yeah, okay, interesting. So it's going to make Luna deal less damage overall, especially earlier whenever this gap is more noticeable. Lycan, Shapeshift no longer provides 100, 200, 300 bonus health. Basically makes it so that when Lycan pops his ulti, he's not this nightmarish werewolf running around that kills everything. That bonus health actually does have a big impact. So, interesting Lycan nerf. I don't think this really affects his pushing ability at all, so it retains the strength of the hero yeah, I like that. It retains the strength of the hero while at the same time making his team fighting and man fighting ability not quite as strong. I think this change is fine. That's okay. Magnus, remove skewer maximum target limit. Okay, so they've removed the scaling target limit where it was, I believe, I think it's 2 heroes at level 1 and 5 heroes at level 4. Let's see. Haven't played Magnus in a while, so we'll see if I'm correct on that. Oh, okay, it's actually 1 target, level 1, 4 targets at level 4. Interesting. So now you can, in theory, push the entire 5-man team at level 1 with skewer. Okay, that's pretty strong. Skewer range increased. Okay, so it's increased at lower levels. That's fine. So this is just buffing skewer. It's trying to make it stronger at lower levels, and the maximum target limit also stronger. I think that's fine. Medusa, split shot reworked from scaling percentage damage with 5 maximum targets to 80% damage with scaling maximum targets. Cool. Okay, so they've basically inverted the properties of split shot. This makes split shot a lot stronger, actually. This is definitely still a farming ability, don't get me wrong, but I think the 80% damage to 2 targets is a lot better than the 50% damage to 5. Like, I know that doesn't sound right, but I think this is much, much stronger, and it's going to make her a lot better. So I think that's cool. I like that. Mystic Snake, well, it's going to make split shot, like actually getting a point in it, it might make sense. That's what they're going for here. Mystic Snake no longer requires Fog of War Vision to balance. They've been changing this with a lot of abilities lately, like the Earthshaker Echo Slam we saw above. I think that's nice. That's a good change. Mana Shield damage absorption per mana increase from 1, blah, blah, blah. So Mana Shield is a lot stronger at earlier levels. Nice Medusa buffs. I like that. I like to see this hero getting some attention because I secretly kind of like Medusa. I think she's a cool hero. And yeah, I think that's a nice change there. Meepo, base movement speed increase from 305 to 315. Very considerable buff. Any kind of movement speed change like this always increases the viability of a hero. So that's definitely going to help him out a lot. Mirana, Sacred Arrow Vision reduced from 800 to 650. Considerable Mirana nerf because Arrow does grant a lot of vision, a whole lot of vision. So taking 150 away from that definitely helps make it not so potent. So I think that's a fine Mirana nerf. Naga Siren. Mirror image illusion damage dealt reduced from blah, blah, blah. Okay, so, wow, this actually reduces the damage dealt a lot. 45% at level 4 to 35% at level 4. That's very, very considerable. Interesting. Riptide AoE reducing. Ooh, Oh, okay, sounds about 350 to 320. That's not too huge. Still losing 30 AoE. Riptide negative armor no longer goes through magic immunity. I didn't know it did in the first place, to be honest with you, so I think that's fine. It probably shouldn't. So, some Naga Siren nerfs. This is going to make her a lot less viable in the late game for sure. It's going to make dealing with her illusion army not so painful. They did a very similar change to Phantom Lancer a few patches ago, where, excuse me, they made Phantom Lancer's illusions deal less damage at the max level of Juxtapose. So I think this is a fine change and going along with the same theory. Necrophos, Heartstopper Aura, area of effect increased from 1,000 to 1,200. Okay, so that's even more annoying to play against now, so definitely a good buff for him. Reaper's Scythe now adds a 30% duration to the respawn timer. Wow, 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 wow. Okay, that's a good buff for him. That's really strong. The more time that you can keep an enemy hero off the map, the weaker they become. That's just simply how this game works. That's why dying sucks so much. Adding 30% on top of that time with this is without an Ag Scepter, by the way. Keep that in mind. That's a really strong Necrolite buff. Very interesting. So that's definitely going to affect the hero and definitely makes him a lot stronger. Night Stalker Darkness now also affects the vision of buildings. That's funny. I think that's a cool change because right now Darkness reduces your vision so much that it's actually really a problem, and doing it the same to buildings is now even scarier. I like that a lot. It's going to make things really, really dark. Nyx Assassin, Impale cooldown increased from 11 to 13. Okay. Impale can no longer be blocked by Lincoln Sphere. So, Nyx nerfs. I don't know if he really needs these. He's definitely nowhere near the terror that he was several patches ago. Still a strong hero. Harder to play now, especially with how Impale is no longer a point cast ability. So, interesting change. I'm not sure if the hero really deserves this, but that's fair enough. I've always thought this was odd, by the way, how it was blocked by Lincoln Sphere, because it's not a targeted ability. So I think this is just kind of fixing, a legacy Dota thing. So that's fine. Ogre Magi, base armor increased by 1. Okay. Ogre Magi right now, I believe, starts with 6 base armor, one of the highest starting armor in the game. Let's make sure that I know what I'm talking about here. 5.96. So yeah, he starts with 6 armor at level 1, so now he starts with 7. And he also starts with one of the highest health pools in the game at level 1 as well. So Ogre Magi is strong, very tanky. But this change, cast animation improved from 0.56 to 0.45. If you've ever played Ogre Magi, you know that being fogged or someone juking you out through a tree while you're in the animation for casting a fireball is a pretty common occurrence. This is going to reduce that a lot. These are some very substantial Ogre Magi buffs. And especially the cast animation is going to have a big impact on that. Omni Knight, this is my man. Let's see what they did for him. Purification area of effect increased from 225 to 240. Very nice change. Going to make it much easier to hit enemy targets with this. Adding a 15 radius on this is actually very strong because this is an ability where you pretty much you will have to be point blank to hit an enemy with this to begin with. So adding an extra 15 range, percentage wise, is actually pretty good because it was already small to begin with at 225. Very nice change. Repel no longer removes positive buffs from allies. This means that Repel will no longer remove Guardian Angel. That's really strong. That's crazy strong. So this also means that it will not remove things like haste, double damage, bloodlust, things like that. That's really, really, really strong. Guardian Angel duration increased from 567 to 7678. Okay, that's a good buff. Aghanim Scepter Guardian Angel duration increased from 567 to 8910. So now Ag Scepter for Omni is no longer just global, but it now adds an extra 2 seconds onto the level 3 duration. Wow. Wow. That actually might be worth picking up on him now. That very strong Omni Knight buff. We actually might see the hero picked up a bit more now. I love Omni Knight, but he's just not played all that much. I don't see him all that often, but these are some very, very positive changes for him. Phantom Assassin. Stifling Dagger cooldown reduced from 8 to 6. I like this. It's going to make her a lot more viable in lane. Much more viable in lane. For the main reason that you're going to be able to last hit a lot more with this, and also to the fact that Stifling Dagger can crit since the last patch, this also going to increase your overall damage output. So that's a nice change for her. Blurry Evasion chance increased from 20 blah 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 to 20, 30, 40, 50. Wow. 50% chance at level 4. That's pretty big. That's really big, actually. Man. That's a nice buff. So Phantom Assassin just got a lot stronger. This is going to increase her survivability massively. That's really good, actually. So good for her. I like that. Phoenix. Icarus Dive. Cast point extended from 0.01 to 0.2. This basically means that before Phoenix can cast his Q, he's going to have to kind of warm up for 0.2 seconds before he can dive. I think that's fine. Fire Spirits damage reduced from 15 to 75 to 10 to 70. Fire Spirits do a lot of damage. That's for sure. A lot of players have had major issues with this hero since he was released in Dota 2. The fact that the Fire Spirit's damage over time is just so strong. This is not a huge difference in values, but it will decrease the overall amount of damage that Phoenix puts out. Fire Spirit's health cost increased from 15 to 20%. That's pretty substantial, so it means it's going to hurt you more to cast those. So these changes make Phoenix a little bit less of a presence. That's okay. I don't have a lot of Phoenix experience myself, but that's nice. I think that these changes are not so dramatic. It's going to make the hero garbage tier, so to speak. So I think these are fine. We'll see how that works out. Pugna, Decrepify mana cost reduced from 100 to 60. Okay, that's pretty huge. Pugna has ridiculously high int gain, so he has a high mana pool to begin with. So a 40 mana reduction on that, that's definitely very helpful. Nether Ward duration increased from 25 to 30. Nether Ward, I think, is one of the most underrated abilities in the game. It's really good. So nice Pugna bust. Maybe we'll start seeing him mid a bit more. I think Pugna's a fine mid. He can do a good job with that. These are some nice buffs. I like to see that. Queen of Pain. Shadow Strike cooldown reduced from 20-16-12-8 to 16-12-8-4. Wow. 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 Man, that's a huge jump at level 4. That's crazy. So you're going to be able to cast Queen of Pain's Q much, much more frequently. Nice. Shadow Strike cast range increased from 400 to 435. This is a big buff to Queen of Pain's laning phase. You'll see a lot of Queen of Pain players. They'll pick up Shadow Strike typically at level 2, sometimes level 1, and they'll use this to harass melee mids like Pudge. That extra 35 range is quite substantial, so that's going to help Queen of Pain quite a bit. Very nice buffs for her. Razor, strength gain increased from 1.7 to 2.3. Nice. Very nice. That's a lot more HP over time. That really is. Unstable current slow duration increased from 0.4 or 1.6 to 0.52. Nice. Okay. So this unstable current is that's nice. That's definitely a nice buff for him. But the strength gain is really what I want to talk about. Whenever you have a hero that receives a substantial stat gain like this, that's going to help a lot. So to kind of put this into perspective, 1 strength is 19 HP. So effectively what that means is 0.6 strength is going to be, that's what, like about 11 or 12, more or less. We'll say it's 10. Let's just round it off to 10. So that means that by the time that Razor is level 10, he's going to have 100 more HP. I'm sorry, it would actually be level 11. But by the time Razor's level 11, he's going to have 100 more HP in this patch than he would in the last patch. Think of it that way. That's actually a really good buff for him. I like that. Ricky, Backstab now works when attacking allied units. Okay, so that's going to help you deny creeps. I think that's mainly what this is for. If I'm missing something with this, don't be afraid to tell me. But yeah, this is going to help you deny creeps. That's about the only purpose I really see for it. That's fine. Shadow Demon. Added Aghanim Scepter upgrade. Demonic Purge cooldown replaced with 2 charges that have a 40-second replenish time. Cool. Okay, so this basically, whenever you use Shadow Demon's ultimate, this is going to give you, I guess, 2 charges on top of that have a 40-second replenish time. I have to be honest, I'm not 100% sure what this means, but it sounds good. Huh, interesting. He needed an Ag Scepter upgrade as well, so we'll see how this works out. It sounds good. I have to admit that I'm not quite sure I totally understand how this is going to work without seeing it in game first, but we'll see. I like seeing a Shadow Demon buff anyway. Shadow Fiend. Requiem of Soul's secondary debuff now affects magic immune units. That's a big buff. That's a really big buff. To illustrate why this is a big buff, is if you get off Shadow Fiend's ultimate, or you die, and therefore you explode in casting your ultimate in that way, Requiem of Souls deals a 50% damage reduction and a 20% slow to any targets it hits. Now it goes through BKB. That's crazy. So this basically means if you can get off your ultimate in a fight, especially on a BKB target, on top of an enemy carry, they're going to be doing 50% damage to you. That's a big Shadow Fiend buff. Very nice, actually. That actually might be a bit too strong, but we'll see how that works out. That's nice. Silencer, agility growth increase from 2.1 to 3. Wow, 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 wow. 0.9 agility gain. Even though Silencer is an intelligence hero, that's crazy. That's almost, yeah, that's basically 1% faster attack speed per level. That's nice. Okay, so this is going to make his auto attacks and therefore his glaives deal a lot more damage over time. That's nice. Curse of the Silent cooldown reduced from 20 to 14 to 20 to 8. Trying to increase Silencer's late game viability, like as a carry, is kind of what this feels like, is what these changes are going for. That's nice. I feel like Silencer is extremely, extremely potent hero. Very annoying to play against as well. And a tough hero to deal with if you're not ready for it. So nice changes for him. Skywrath Mage, base movement speed increase from 315 to 325. What? Ooh, man, he's so fast. Maybe I'll have to actually play this hero now. That's a nice buff. Concussive shot damage increase from 50 to 200 to 60 to 240. That's not really a big change. That's okay. It's just going to make concussive shot not so much appear slow, but it's actually going to deal a little bit more nuke damage. I think that's fine. But man, that 10 move speed increase, that's good. That's nice, actually. Sniper. Fixed sniper's acquisition range not matching his maximum attack range. This affects his ability to auto-attack units as maximum range. Okay, so probably just more a bug fix than anything. I think that's fine. Spirit Breaker. Nether Strike cast range increase from 400 to 700 to some. Wow, okay, so it's all the same at all levels. Scepter range increased to 850 at all levels. Okay. So, Spirit Breaker's ultimate now has the same level of duration at level 1 as it did at level 3 in the prior patch. Nice buff for him. It's going to make his ultimate much easier to get off at earlier levels. Nether Strike cooldown rebalance from 75 to 80, 70, 60. I think that's fine. That's a good change. I don't know if this will affect the viability of the hero very much at all, but it's definitely going to make his ultimate have a lot more impact, so I think that's good. Sven, base damage increased by 6. I think Sven is strong right now as it is. I think this is a really, really potent change, especially for his laning phase. I'm not sure if he really needs this, but good for him. That's 6 is quite a bit of base damage. That's nice. Templar Assassin, Psionic Trap sub-ability now has the same cast point as the ability on the trap itself. Previously, the sub-ability and the ability on the trap had different cast behaviors, both 0 now. If you cast it with your hero, it would take longer. Okay, so this basically makes it so that detonating your traps does not have the casting delay on it. I think that's fine. That's going to make Templar feel a bit more fluid, so I think that's good. Alright, here's another big one. Terrorblade, strength gain reduced from 1.9 to 1.4. Okay, I want to put that into perspective, because that's actually substantial. I'm going to kind of use the same example as I did with Razor a moment ago. So he has 0.5 less strength gain per level. That is, it's exactly 9.5 strength, but again, for simplicity, we'll just say 10. So he effectively gains 10 less. I'm an idiot. I'm sorry. That's actually not correct at all. So he gains 0.5 less strength. What the hell am I saying? Strength gain reduced from 1.9 to 1. So beforehand, he was gaining roughly about 40 HP per level. Now he's gaining about 30 HP per level. Let's put it that way. I might just had a complete, my mind just went to jelly there for a second. So yeah, he's going to have 10 less HP per level, which hurts him considerably. And going back up to Razor, yeah, effectively the reverse of what happened to Razor, more or less. So that's very considerable, especially considering that Terrorblade is an illusion-based hero. HP is critical for this guy, so definitely a substantial nerf. Reflection Slow no longer persists your magic immunity. Okay, I think that's fair. Being able to dispel it by activating BKB is legit. Reflection duration rebalanced from 5 to 2.5 to 5.5. This is an enormous change for Terrorblade and is going to radically affect his viability. Because the ability to have a 5-second slow, a 5-second slow at level 1, it's 60% by the way, is the slow amount on this ability. That's huge. That is going to massively affect his laning presence. He's not going to be able to so easily get kills with an allied hero in the lane. Like before at level 2, you could kill a lot of heroes. Put your Q on them, pop your E, turn into a demon, throw balls on them, they die. And they can't get away. Because they have a 5-second slow on them at level 1 that they can't really dodge if Terrorblade walks up to them. I think this is okay, but at the same time, I feel like these changes are really, really harsh and might put Terrorblade down to a level where we'll see. This definitely affects his viability to a huge degree, but we'll see how this works out. Tidehunter, Anchor Smash damage reduction increase from 40 to 60%. Nice. That's a big buff. It's going to massively affect his anti-carry capability. Being able to Anchor Smash an enemy right-clicker and reduce 60% of their damage. This ability was good before at 40%, but 60%? Wow, that's nice. Anchor Smash now works on Ancient Creeps. Does not affect Roshan. Okay, so that means you can help your carry take an Ancient stack. I like that. I like changes that do things like that. That's nice. Tinker, Heat-Seeking Missiles no longer blocked by Ethereal. I didn't know it was blocked by Ethereal. Okay. Tiny, Craggy Exterior Stun Duration rescale from 1.2 to 1.5 to 1.75. I hate getting hit by Craggy Exterior because it doesn't feel fair. It doesn't feel like I can do anything about it. But this is going to definitely help help Tiny out a bit. Adding that extra 0.25 seconds at level 4. Pretty nice. Troll Warlord, Melee Whirling Axe's cast point improved from 0.220. Okay, this is a big buff for Troll Warlord, and I'm going to explain why. In the past, when Troll Warlord was first released into Dota 2, he did not have a cast point on his axes, which means they could be cast instantly with no delay. They've now changed that back, at least halfway. The melee form now has no cast point. So effectively what this means is that it's going to feel a lot more liquid and a lot more fluid, being able to cast your range whirling axes for the slow, switch to melee, run up to the target, and be able to cast this without being stopped for 0.2 seconds. I know that doesn't sound like much, but it really is. That's a big difference. That's nice. Sorry, let me just make sure real quick. Okay, I'm doing fine. Good. Tusk. Rework Snowball into a two-part ability. One which creates the snowball, and a sub-ability to launch the snowball. You have up to 4 seconds to use the sub-ability. The area that automatically pulls allies in has been reduced. Oh my god. So new. Tusk begins rolling into a snowball, automatically getting it within a 100 radius. Okay, pretty small. Allies within a 400 radius can also be added to the snowball by right-clicking on them. Once launched, any enemies caught in the snowball's path will be stunned and take damage, blah, blah, blah. The damage values look like they're still the same. Each allied here in the snowball will add to its speed and damage. Okay. Cool. Okay, so they're making Snowball a lot more of an involved and active ability. I think that's a nice change for Tusk. You can now load an ally into your Snowball within 400 range by right-clicking on them. Snowball moves 75 move speed faster for each allied hero inside of it, so they're restoring that old mechanic like it used to work before. Or at least part of it. Snowball deals extra damage for each additional hero in it. That's awesome. So now, gathering up your allies and balling in as a Snowball, it may actually be a viable and fun strategy. That's really cool. I like that. I like Tusk as a hero, and this is going to make him a lot more interesting. So that's nice. I'm looking forward to seeing that in game. Undying. Okay. Soul Rip area of effect increased from 975 to 1300. Here's how I feel about Undying. I still feel like people do not truly understand what this hero is capable of and how he can impact the game. I don't there's a lot of buffs here actually. Tombstone Zombies Deathlust max percent health threshold increased from 5 to 20 to 20 to 35. Okay, max percent health threshold. So this means they're going to go into Deathlust faster. That's insane. That's crazy good. Tombstone Zombies no longer give any experience or gold. Down from 25 experiences to 5 to 7. Okay, so you can't farm them anymore. Tombstone bounty increased from 7130 to 75 Okay. Flesh Golem's Plagueguard now affects magic immune units. Oh my god. So, and again, if you've watched my prior videos, my Dota 2 strategy series, you know how big of a fan I am of this hero. These buffs are completely unnecessary. But you know what? I'll take them because Undying is awesome. But I'm telling you, like, he doesn't even need these. Undying is already incredibly strong. Very strong. I like this change the most, actually, how it now goes through BKB. This is going to impact Undying's late game viability a lot. I like seeing that quite a bit. That's really, really nice. This is going to be a fun patch. Ursa. Fury Swipes is no longer a unique attack modifier. Okay, that's actually very interesting for Ursa. So that actually opens up like Diffusal Blade Mana Burn, Desolator, things like that. So you're going to start seeing more items in Ursa now that actually use orb effects or unique attack modifiers. Interesting. Vengeful Spirit. When Vengeful Spirit is slain, her killer is inflicted with a negative Vengeance aura, which decreases the damage of her killer and their nearby allies until she revives. The damage reduction is based on Vengeful Spirit's Vengeance aura level as a 900 range area of effect around Vengeful Spirit's killer. That's really, really powerful. So if Vengeful Spirit, like, this is trying to make Vengeful Spirit more of the martyr character, you know what they're going for? So you swap a target and Vengeful Spirit dies, but by killing Vengeful Spirit, you've effectively lowered the DPS of the entire enemy team. This seems like it could be really good. That's interesting. I like changes like that. That's really cool. That's a nice buff to Vengeful Spirit. Visage, Grave Chill cooldown increased from 10 to 16, 14. Okay, that's fair. Grave Chill is a very strong ability. Definitely encouraging people to level it up more now. I think that's fine. Warlock, Shadow Ward duration increased from 9 to 11. I'm going to guess this also means it heals more, unless the healing state scales across those 2 extra seconds. I'm not sure. Probably means it heals more, so that's always good. Upheaval cooldown reduced from 50 to 38. Whatever. They're still trying to make Upheaval like a decent skill. I really don't like it. I don't feel like the hero, like, it doesn't feel natural casting Upheaval as this hero. But we'll see how that works out. Who knows? Maybe Upheaval will become the new thing. But Wind Ranger, activating Wind Run now disjoints incoming attack projectiles. They did this because if you activate Wind Run while an auto attack is coming toward you and it would kill you, it's still going to kill you. You're not going to dodge it with Wind Run. So this is now going to disjoint that. I think that's fine. Aghanim Scepter Focus Fire damage reduction decreased from -50, -30 to, oh my god, 0? And no longer has special rules for procs. Well, carry Windrunner. That's carry Windrunner, pusher Windrunner. That's crazy. Wow, what a buff. That's nice. Focus Fire Scepter may actually now be a thing now. Very interesting. Witch Doctor, Maledict cooldown reduced from 35 to 20. Oh my god, that's strong. That's really strong. That's also very strongly encouraging max Maledict builds, because Maledict is strong. It's really good. Death Ward base attack time improved from 0.25 to 0.22, so it's now going to put out even more damage. So, Witch Doctor, now dealing even more damage in patch 6.81. Very nice buffs for him. Wraith King, Mortal Strike damage ratio increased in 1. So this is the crit. 1.25, 2.75 to 1.5 to 3, so it's going to increase his crit damage. Okay. Base armor reduced by 1, so he's a little less tanky. Not too many changes here. I'm not sure how this will affect the hero much at all, but we'll see. Zeus, Arc Lightning cast point improved from 0.4 to 0.2. Oh, wow. So it takes half as long to cast it now. That's going to help his CSing in lane a lot, and also just make it feel a lot more, easy to cast. I like that. Lightning Bolt true sight range reduced from 900 to 750. Okay. Lightning Bolt flying vision range reduced from 1000 to 750. Okay. Lightning Bolt can now be cast on the ground, affecting the closest enemy in 250. That's a huge buff. That's cool. This means you can reveal invisible enemy heroes with it. I wonder if that'll affect wards. No, that'd be too strong. There has to be an enemy hero there. That's great. So now Zeus is actually can be a really effective counter to even more so to Invis heroes. Because as of now, Lightning Bolt and Zeus's ultimate do provide true sight for a time. But now you're actually able to cast it on the ground, and like say if there's a Ricky there, boop, Ricky pops out, you can now see him. That's cool. That's a nice Zeus buff. Alright, so we've covered the heroes. Very, very nice, long, exhaustive changelog here, and overall I feel like a lot of positive changes for the game. I'm really looking forward for this to come out. I am going to go ahead and cover the items now. So items, Ground Courier respawn time reduced from 180 seconds to 140 seconds. Whatever, it makes having your courier killed less punishing. That's not really a big deal. I guess this doesn't affect flying courier. No, I don't think it does. Okay, so basically if Nature's Prophet snipes your courier going back from mid delivering the bottle, it's going to be dead for 40 less seconds. Bloodstone, Blood Pact heal increase from 400 HP plus 30 per charge to 500 HP plus 30 per charge. So it's going to heal your allies more whenever you die. This is a rather unnoticed and kind of underrepresented effect of this item, to where if you die during a team fight or you suicide with the item, it heals your allies in an AoE, so that's a nice change. It's a buff to Bloodstone. Clarity, mana regeneration from 100 over 30 seconds to 135 over 40 seconds. So Clarity overall is going to give more mana, and it's going to take more time to do it. Okay, that's nice. I think that's a nice buff to the item. Actually, what this might also mean is that over that 30-second duration, you might not, I'd have to do the math on it, and God knows math is not my forte, as you can probably tell from this video. But, yeah, I think that's fine. Eul Scepter Divinity. Cyclone now deals 50 damage to enemy units when they land. I think they did this so that a unit can't immediately blink away, is probably what this is going for. That's fine. You can now cast Cyclone on yourself while you are magic immune. Interesting. Okay. I like that. I like these changes. That's making Eul's applicable in many more situations, I think is what that's going for. It's no longer a cardinal sin to cast Eul's on the enemy puck that has a blink dagger. Because now, when that enemy puck lands, they're going to take 50 damage and disable blink. I think that's fine. That's a good change. Manta Style. Mirror Image now resets the current attack and spell targeting priority. Also affects other image shuffle-based spells like Chaos Knight's Phantasm and Nagasign's Mirror Image. I'm not 100% sure what this means. If someone can elaborate on that, feel free to. I'm not entirely sure what this is talking about, but maybe I'll find out later. I'll provide an annotation or something. Mjolnir. Chain Lightning damage reduced from 160 to 150. Okay. Static Shock area of effect is now centered around the unit with the static charge rather than around the attacker. Well, that sounds more like a bug fix than anything. Fixed Chain Lightning not functioning properly when it procs while a previous proc is still bouncing. This affects Maelstrom and Mjolnir and makes them more reliable when they proc in sequence. Nice, okay. So, some nice bug fixes, a little bit less damage, not really all that much, so some good changes for Mjolnir there. Necronomicon. Necronomicon Warrior's movement speed rescaled from 330 to 390 to 350, so it's now a little bit less fast. I think that's fine. Necronomicon units XP bounty increased from 59. Ooh, wow. Oh, that's a lot more XP. This is necessary because right now Necro books are a thing. Giving, and now feeding your Necro creeps like this can now actually be a detriment because you're feeding a lot of XP to the enemy team. I think that's a nice change. Observer and Sentry Wards. Sharing wards with allies now requires a control key override. If you hold control, using the ward will only target heroes. If you do not, okay, this is a good change because this is going to prevent you from accidentally placing a ward while you're trying to give it to a friendly hero. That's a nice change. Wards can no longer be placed in the fountain areas. Whatever. That's fine. Pipe of Insight. Pipe health regeneration reduced from 11 to 8. Okay. Pipe now provides the Insight aura, which grants 4 health regeneration to nearby allies. Oh, okay. So they're making up for this by doing this. They're actually giving you more HP overall than what it used to do. And you get an AoE HP regen. That's nice. I like that a lot, actually. Pipe's active debuff is no longer dispellable. Or active buff is no longer dispellable. So you can no longer dispel the 400 magic shield. So nice changes to Pipe. I wish they would give Pipe... one change that I really wish they would do to this item is so that you don't lose the bonus stats from Headdress. I really think they should do that. I really don't like how the item gets rid of those bonus stats. But overall, good changes for the item. Rod of Atos, yet another buff. Cripple ability cooldown reduced from 12 to 10. This is not going to change much. I think Rod of Atos is a great item on certain heroes already. And they've been buffing this item again and again and again. And doing a 12 to 10 second cooldown is not going to change it all that much. So pretty neutral change there. Scythe of Vice. Hexed units' base movement speed increased from 100 to 140. This only affects Scythe of Vice. So, nerf to Sheep Stick. This basically makes it so if a hero is sheep, they now have 40 more move speed than they did before. That's actually a very, very substantial nerf. And it's going to make it so it's easier for that hero to run away. Okay, well, we'll see how this affects the game. Definitely going to affect heroes that build Sheep Stick primarily as a core item. You know, you see it on Nature's Prophet a lot, heroes like that. So, we'll see how that works out. Shadow Amulet. Fade no longer requires the target to remain stationary. Invisibility still requires the target to remain stationary. Okay, so this means you can activate it during the fade time, you can still walk. Whatever. Nobody actually uses this item because you turn it into Shadow Blade. Shadow Walk duration increased from 12 to 14. They do not need to buff Shadow Blade. I can say from some experience lately playing Shadow Blade Slark that this item is fine. And it's balanced right now. But now you have 2 extra seconds of invisibility. Okay, we'll see how that works out. That definitely makes it stronger. That 2 seconds can make or break a gank or an escape. Town Portal Scroll. Added an option to require a halt command in order to cancel a Town Portal Scroll. This basically makes it so that you can't accidentally right-click on the map and cancel your TP as you're TPing to a tower. This has needed to come for a long time. I've thankfully gotten in the habit of shift queuing so that I don't cancel TPs, but God knows it still happens to me sometimes. It happens to everybody. Very, very nice change. So overall, thank you, Valve. Awesome update. I'm not sure when this is going live. Again, at the time of making this video, this was only released a couple of hours ago, so we will see. I hope you guys found this video insightful and informative, and let me know your thoughts, and thank you so much for watching. Take care.